Welcome back. I'm Pratap here. Today is the 22nd February 2025. In this video, I'm going to generate different supply demand zones useful to the premium subscribers. Before that, please understand we are providing complete free training on supply demand zone price action. Some of you might be knowing the cost of the training is over 8,000 US dollars. But we are providing complete free training, and all the training lessons are available at our NeoStock YouTube channel. At our channel homepage, click on the tab Posts. Some of you might be seeing the tab Community. Click on the tab. You get access to this post. This post is having a YouTube playlist link that will take you to all the training lessons. You just click on the link. Now we are into supply demand zone price action course YouTube playlist. I kept all the training lessons in this playlist. You need to start your training from lesson 1.1 that is available at the bottom of the page. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. Here, starting from lesson 1.1, all the training lessons are placed in an order. So please go through all these lessons one by one according to the training instructions I mentioned at our Telegram channel. I provided the link to our Telegram channel in this video description. So join at our Telegram channel. At the top of the Telegram channel window, you can find pinned messages. So click on the pinned messages. You get access to all the training instructions. So learn this course according to those training instructions. Then you will become a very good independent trader in the coming months. Now let's get into report generation with the help of NeoStock Software Supply Demand Zone Top-Down Analysis Strategy Builder. Okay, first we are going to generate finding the stocks near demand and supply zones for all the time frames, and also we will find price closed inside the demand and supply zones for all the higher time frames above daily time frame. Let's start with yearly time frame. Price closed inside the yearly demand zone. We got 5 stocks. I'm giving you only few seconds time to watch the report. So I request you pause the video, study the report, and then proceed to the next reports. In case if you did not understand the structure of this report, I request you complete our training lesson 21.1. That is a part 1 of lesson 21. In that video, I have explained each and every column, their values, abbreviations in detail. Okay, now let's move on to the next report. Yearly time frame. Price closed inside the yearly supply zone. We did not get any stocks. Next time frame is half yearly. Stocks near half yearly demand zone. We got 3 stocks. Next, half yearly time frame. Stocks near half yearly supply zone. We don't have any stocks. Next, half yearly time frame. Price closed inside the half yearly demand zone. We got 7 stocks. Next, half yearly time frame. Price closed inside the half yearly supply zone. We got 3 stocks. Next time frame is a quarterly. Stocks near quarterly demand zone. We got 6 stocks. Next, quarterly time frame. Stocks near quarterly supply zone. We got 4 stocks. Next, quarterly time frame. Price closed inside the quarterly demand zone. We got 40 stocks. First 23 stocks in the list. I'm scrolling the list down. Total 40 stocks are filtered. Because the list is very big, we can further filter this list based on quarterly EMA confluence. The demand zones having quarterly EMA confluence. So I'm going back. setting the filter EMA Confluence at quarterly time frame by selecting the option quarterly demand zone having quarterly EMA Confluence. And when you set the EMA Confluence, trend should not be sideways in quarterly time frame, because in the sideways trend EMA Confluence does not give any extra advantage. So that's why in the quarterly time frame I am selecting the trend as either up or down, but not sideways. So with these filters applied on the 42 stocks, now 22 are filtered. All these 22 quarterly demand zones are having quarterly EMA Confluence. Okay, next, quarterly time frame. Price closed inside the quarterly supply zone. We got 4 stocks. Out of these 4, how many quarterly supply zones are having quarterly EMA Confluence? Quarterly trend is up in all these stocks. So in the EMA Confluence at quarterly time frame, I am selecting the filter quarterly supply zone having quarterly EMA Confluence. And trend, no sideways are there, no need to set the trend. Now we got out of 4, 3 stocks are filtered. All these 3 stocks quarterly supply zones are having quarterly EMA Confluence. So this is about quarterly time frame. Next time frame is monthly. Stocks near monthly demand zone. We got 6 stocks. Next, monthly time frame, stocks near monthly supply zone. We got 2 stocks. Next, monthly time frame, price closed inside the monthly demand zone. We got 58 stocks. First 19 stocks in the list. I'm scrolling the list down. So total 58 stocks are filtered where price closed inside the monthly demand zone. We can further filter this list based on the monthly demand zones having monthly EMA Confluence. So let me set the filter. I am going back in the EMA Confluence. At monthly time frame, I am selecting the option monthly demand zone having monthly EMA Confluence. And the trend on the monthly time frame should not be sideways. It can be up or down. With these filters, now the list is come down to 23 stocks. So first 21 stocks in the list. Scrolling the list down. So total 23 stocks are filtered where all these monthly demand zones are having monthly EMA Confluence and also current price closed inside these monthly demand zones. Okay, this is about price closed inside monthly demand zone having monthly EMA Confluence. So next, monthly time frame, price closed inside the monthly supply zone. We got 8 stocks. Out of these 8, how many monthly supply zones are having monthly EMA Confluence? Let us verify. In the EMA Confluence at monthly time frame, I am selecting the filter monthly supply zone having monthly EMA Confluence, and also the trend on the monthly time frame should not be sideways. It can be up or down. With these filters, we got 3 stocks. So this is about monthly time frame. Next time frame is weekly. And also this is the end of the week. I will be generating few additional reports for weekly time frame. like newly created weekly zones, similarly tested weekly zones, and zones based on weekly, monthly and quarterly zone confluence. Few additional reports I will generate. It might be useful to people who trade only based on the weekly zones. Okay, weekly time frame, stocks near weekly demand zone, we got 15 stocks. Next, weekly time frame, stocks near weekly supply zone, we got 13 stocks. Next, weekly time frame, price closed inside the weekly demand zone, we got 77 stocks. So first 15 stocks in the list. I'm scrolling the list down. So total 77 stocks are filtered. Out of these 77, how many of these weekly demand zones are having weekly EMA confluence? Let us further filter this list. So in the EMA confluence at weekly time frame, I am setting the filter weekly demand zone having weekly EMA confluence or not, and also trend on the weekly time frame I am selecting up or down. So with these filters we got 13 stocks. From 77 stocks, the list is come down to 13. And all these 13 weekly demand zones are having weekly EMA confluence. And also current prices are closed inside the weekly demand zones. Okay, next, weekly time frame, price closed inside the weekly supply zone, we got 21 stocks. So first 16 stocks in the list. Scrolling the list down. So total 21 stocks are filtered. We can further filter this list based on weekly supply zones having weekly EMA confluence. So let us set the filter and we will further filter this list from these 21 stocks. So in the EMA confluence at a weekly time frame, I am selecting the filter weekly supply zone having weekly EMA confluence, and also trend on the weekly time frame should not be sideways. So it can be up or down. With these filters, from 21 stocks, the list is come down to 9 stocks. In all these 9 stocks, these weekly supply zones are having weekly EMA confluence. And also current price closed in the weekly supply zone. Okay, this is about price closed inside weekly supply zones. Next, we will see the tested weekly demand and supply zones. So weekly time frame, the tested weekly demand zones during this week. So total 29 stocks are filtered. The first 16 stocks in the list. Scrolling the list down. So total 29 stocks. These 29 stocks having weekly demand zones are tested during this week. Similarly, we will look into tested stocks having tested weekly supply zones. So weekly time frame, the stocks tested the weekly supply zones. So these 5 stocks having the supply zones are tested during this week. Okay. So this is about tested zones. Next, let us look into newly created weekly demand and supply zones. Going back, weekly time frame, let us find the stocks having newly created weekly demand zones. So only this one stock having the newly created weekly demand zone. So this demand zone is created during this week. Okay, next, for weekly time frame, let us find the stocks having newly created weekly supply zones. So these 2 stocks having newly created weekly supply zones. So both these supply zones are created during this week. Okay, next let us find weekly zones based on this zone confluence, LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence. Let us assume weekly is LTF, ITF is monthly, HTF is quarterly. That way we will filter based on zone confluence. So weekly time frame in the demand zone confluence, I am selecting the filter, 3 filters. First filter, weekly demand zone having monthly demand zone confluence. Next filter, weekly demand zone having quarterly demand zone confluence. Third filter, monthly demand zone having quarterly demand zone confluence. With all the 3 filters enabled, that means weekly zone is overlapped with monthly zone. Both together again overlapped with quarterly demand zone. So that way we got a big list. 44 stocks are filtered. I'm scrolling the list down. Okay, 44. We can further filter this list because weekly zone is together with monthly zone is part of quarterly. That means all are part of the quarterly. That's why if quarterly demand zone having quarterly EMA confluence, then those zones are even more high probability trade setup weekly zones. Let us identify, because all are part of quarterly. That's why we are setting EMA filter in the quarterly zone. So what is the filter? Quarterly demand zone having quarterly EMA confluence. Definitely trend on quarterly should not be sideways. That's why I am selecting up or down. With these filters, now the list is come down to 26 stocks. First 16 stocks in the list. I am scrolling the list down. So all these 26 weekly demand zones are high probability setup related zones, because these weekly zones are fine-tuned zones inside the quarterly demand zone. Similar way, exactly look into the supply zone also. So quarterly time frame, let us look into the fine-tuned weekly zones inside quarterly, the supply zones. So 3 filters we have to select. First filter, weekly supply zone having confluence with monthly supply zone. Next, weekly supply zone having confluence with quarterly supply zone. Similarly, monthly supply zone having confluence with quarterly supply zone. With all the 3 filters enabled, we got 8 stocks. In these 8 stocks, These weekly supply zones, all these weekly supply zones are overlapped with monthly supply zone. Again, both together overlapped with quarterly supply zone. If quarterly supply zone having quarterly EMA confluence in any of these stocks, there could be even more high probability trade setup supported zones. Let us verify. In the EMA confluence at a quarterly time frame, I am setting the filter quarterly supply zone having quarterly EMA confluence. And trend on the quarterly time frame should not be sideways. It can be up or down. So with these filters, we got only 2 stocks. So these 2 quarterly supply zones are having quarterly EMA confluence. And weekly zone together with monthly zone, supply zone, part of the quarterly supply zone. So these are the few additional reports we generated for the weekly time frame. Okay, next time frame is daily. Entry time frame daily. Let us find the stocks near daily demand zone. We got 21 stocks. Let us identify high liquidity demand zones from this list. Okay, here we have a high liquidity Lupin. Lupin is having a high liquidity daily demand zone. Next one is NCC, having high liquidity daily demand zone. But unfortunately, both Lupin and Lupin is okay, 7th. This is on January 4th January. May not be 5 minutes data available. Next one is OIL, but the problem is OIL is a piercer zone. So you can't use. That's it. We got only 2 stocks, Lupin and NCC. The high liquidity, high priority, high liquidity zones. Okay, next, for daily time frame, stocks near daily supply zone, we got 4 stocks. Let us identify high liquidity supply zones from this list. AU Bank is having a high liquidity supply zone, and Manappuram is having a high liquidity daily supply zone. So we identified 2 high liquidity daily supply zones from this list. Okay, next, for daily time frame, price closed inside the daily demand zone, we got 67 stocks. First 15 stocks in the list. Let me quickly scroll the list down. Later we will filter with daily EMA confluence. So total 67 stocks are filtered. So out of these 67, how many daily demand zones are having daily EMA confluence? Let us verify. Let us further filter on these 67 stocks. So in the EMA confluence at daily time frame, I am setting the filter daily demand zone having daily EMA confluence or not, and also trend on the daily time frame should not be sideways. It can be up or down. With these filters, out of the 67 stocks, now the list is come down to 14 stocks. These 14 daily demand zones are having daily EMA confluence, and also the current price closed inside the daily demand zone. So next we will identify price closed inside daily supply zone. For daily time frame, price closed inside daily supply zone, we got 30 stocks. First 16 stocks in the list, I'm scrolling the list down. So total 30 stocks are filtered. Out of these 30 stocks, how many daily supply zones are having daily EMA confluence? Let us filter. So I'm going back in the EMA confluence parameter at daily time frame. I'm setting the filter daily supply zone having daily EMA confluence. And trend on the daily time frame should not be sideways. It can be up or down. With these filters, we got 18 stocks. First 16 stocks in the list. I'm scrolling the list down. So total 18 stocks where price closed inside the daily supply zone, and those daily supply zones are having daily EMA confluence. So this is about the daily time frame. So the next time frame is 125 minutes. Stocks near 125 minutes demand zone. We got 23 stocks. First 15 stocks in the list. I'm scrolling the list down. So total 23 stocks are filtered. Next, 125 minutes time frame. Stocks near 125 minutes supply zone. We got 14 stocks. Okay, next time frame is 75 minutes. Stocks near 75 minutes demand zone. We got 23 stocks. Let us identify high liquidity 75 minutes demand zones from this list. NIFTY FMCG, it is not listed in F&O, so we are leaving this. Dabur is having a high liquidity zone. Tested 8-10 times, I got. Next, Exide Industries is having a high liquidity zone. Next, Infosys is having a high liquidity zone. Metropolis is having a high liquidity zone. Muthoot Finance is having a high liquidity zone. Page Industries is having a high liquidity zone. So total we identified 7 high liquidity zones. Let me check. The first one is a Dabur. Second one Exide Industries. Third one Infosys. Fourth one Metropolis. Fifth one Muthoot Finance. Sixth one Page Industries. So got 6 only, not 7. This is not valid. So we are starting with the Dabur. Exide Industries. Infosys. Metropolis. Muthoot Finance. And Page Industries. 6 stocks. We identified 6 high liquidity zones from 75 minutes time frame. Okay. Next, for 75 minutes time frame, stocks near 75 minutes supply zone, we got 5 stocks. Let us identify high liquidity supply zones from this list. Siemens, it is a pierced zone, so it is not valid. So we don't have any high liquidity 75-minute supply zones from this list. So with this we have completed identifying high liquidity zones from both daily and 75 minutes time frame, because these zones only you will use for your HLQ zone strategy learned in lesson 21.3. The third video in lesson 21. Okay, next time frame is 25 minutes. Stocks near 25 minutes demand zone. We got 13 stocks. Next 25 minutes time frame, stocks near 25 minutes supply zone. We got 7 stocks. Okay, next time frame is 15 minutes. Stocks near 15 minutes demand zone. We got 10 stocks. Let us further filter this list based on the demand zone confluence with ITF zone. That is 15 minutes demand zone with 75 minutes demand zone confluence. I am enabling the filter. So with this filter we got 4 stocks. In these 4 stocks, these 15 minutes demand zones are overlapped with 75 minutes demand zone. Okay, next for 15 minutes time frame, stocks near 15 minutes supply zone, we got 4 stocks. Out of these 4, how many supply zones are having ITF supply zone confluence? Let us verify. That is 15 minutes with 75 minutes supply zone confluence. I am enabling the filter. With this filter, out of 4, we got only 1 stock. So this 15 minute supply zone overlapped with 75 minute supply zone. Next time frame is 5 minutes. Stocks near 5 minutes demand zone. We got 12 stocks. Out of these 12, how many demand zones are having ITF zone confluence? That is 5 minutes and 15 minutes demand zone confluence. I am enabling the filter. Now 7 stocks are filtered. Out of these 7, first one is a pierced zone, 4th one is a pierced, and 7th one is pierced. You can ignore them. The demand zones should not be pierced for stocks near demand zones. Okay, next for 5 minutes time frame, stocks near 5 minutes supply zone, we got 9 stocks. Out of these 9, how many supply zones are having ITF supply zone confluence? Let us verify. That is 5 minute supply zone with 15 minute supply zone confluence. I am enabling the filter. With this filter, we got only 2 stocks. Out of these 2, second one is a pierced supply zone. You ignore it. Only first one can be useful for your further analysis. So this is about stocks near demand and supply zones for different time frames. We also identified price closed inside demand and supply zones for daily and above time frames. Next, we will generate NIFTY and BANKNIFTY supply demand zone chain. First, let us generate NIFTY supply demand zone chain. That is nothing but Nifty 50. Starting with monthly time frame, generating monthly supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. So this is NIFTY monthly supply demand zone chain. Always look into zone column to find the high liquidity zones, and look into the pierced column to find the pierced zones, and also look into the LTF trend to find the trend of the current time frame you have selected. Same rules you can apply to the remaining supply demand zone chain reports. Okay, next, weekly supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. Next, daily supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. Next, 125-minute supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. Next, 75-minute supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. Next, 25-minute supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. (22) is the nearest demand zone to the current closing price, but this is a pierced zone. Anyway, I'll put it in the center so that you can get equal number of demand and supply zones. Okay, next, 15 minutes supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. All these are all supply zones. Let me scroll the list down. The nearest demand zone to the current closing price is 36. Serial number 36. Let me put it in the center. Okay. Next, 5-minute supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. All these are all supply zones. I am scrolling the list down. In the second page also all are supply zones. Again I am scrolling the list down. And we have demand zone at item number 63. This is the nearest demand zone to the current closing price. Let me put it in the center. Okay. So this is about NIFTY. Next we will generate supply demand zone chain for BANKNIFTY. That is nothing but NIFTY Bank. So I am generating monthly supply demand zone chain for BANKNIFTY. Next, weekly supply demand zone chain for BANKNIFTY. Next, daily supply demand zone chain for BANKNIFTY. Next, 125-minute supply demand zone chain for BANKNIFTY. Next, 75-minute supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 25-minute supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 15 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. $22 is the nearest demand zone to the current closing price, the Pierce demand zone. So let me put it in the center, slightly adjust. Next, 5 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. $31 is the nearest demand zone to the current closing price. Let me put it in the center. So this is about Bank Nifty supply demand zone chain. So with this we have completed both Nifty and Bank Nifty supply demand zone chain. Next we will generate bullish and bearish trade setups for different income trades. Okay, first bullish trade setup for monthly income trade, entry time frame daily, entry zone, demand zone. In bullish a bearish trade setup at daily I am selecting bullish. Zone achievement VOZ, minimum odd enhancer score 12, and we got 10 stocks. So these 10 stocks are currently supporting bullish trade setup for monthly income trade. And entry time frame zones are daily demand zones. All these zones are daily demand zones. Out of these 10 daily demand zones, we should identify zones that might be having higher probability to get success. For that, we are using zone confluence, two filters. Yeah, first one is LTF and ITF zone confluence. Next, LTF, ITF, HTF zone confluence. Of course, we will also be using EMA confluence also. Okay, first let us filter based on LTF and ITF demand zone confluence. That is a daily and weekly demand zone confluence. I am enabling that filter. So with this filter, out of 10, we got 8 stocks. In all these 8 stocks, daily zones are overlapped with weekly zone. And weekly trend is up in all these stocks. If weekly EMA confluence is there, then those stocks might be having more higher success rate. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence weekly time frame, because daily zone is overlapped with weekly. That's why we are looking for weekly zone, demand zone, having weekly EMA confluence or not. Anyway, trend is uptrend. So we got 3 stocks. So these 3 stocks might be having more success rate. I think some of these zones are tested today. Okay, next. Let us filter based on LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence, removing EMA filter. In the demand zone confluence, 3 filters we have to set. First filter is already enabled. Second, daily with monthly demand zone confluence. Next, weekly with monthly demand zone confluence. With all the 3 filters enabled, we got 2 stocks. In these 2 stocks, these daily demand zones are overlapped with weekly demand zone. Both together again overlapped with monthly demand zone. That means these daily demand zones are fine-tuned demand zones inside the monthly demand zone. That is how you should understand. And also monthly trend is up in both the stocks. because daily zones are fine-tuned zones inside the monthly. If monthly demand zone having monthly EMA confluence, then these daily demand zones might be having higher success rate. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence monthly time frame, I am setting the filter monthly demand zone having monthly EMA confluence or not. Anyway, trend is up for both the stocks. So both are filtered. That means these two stocks are having even more higher success rate, possibility to get the success. So this is about bullish trade setup for monthly income trade. Next, bearish trade setup for monthly income trade, entry time frame daily, entry zone is supply zone. And also in bullish or bearish trade setup at daily, I am selecting bearish. Zone achievement VOZ, minimum order enhancer score 12. With these filters, we got 4 stocks. And these 4 stocks are currently supporting bearish trade setup for monthly income trade. And entry time frame zones are daily supply zones. All these are all stocks having daily supply zones. Out of these 4 daily supply zones, we can further filter based on zone confluence to find high probability setup zones. So first one, LTF ITF supply zone confluence. That is a daily supply zone with weekly supply zone confluence. The filter is enabled. We got all the 4 stocks. That means in all these 4 stocks, these daily supply zones are overlapped with weekly supply zone. And weekly trend is down in all these stocks, ITF trend. So if weekly supply zone having weekly EMA confluence, then those stocks are having a higher success rate, higher probability to get the success. So in the EMA confluence weekly time frame, I am setting the filter weekly supply zone having weekly EMA confluence. With this filter, all 4 stocks are filtered. So all these 4 are having more success rate. This is based on LTF, ITF and ITF EMA confluence for the supply zones. Next we will look into LTF, ITF and HTF supply zone confluence supported stocks. Removing EMA filter. In the supply zone confluence, 3 filters we have to set. First filter is already enabled, daily with weekly. Next, daily supply zone with monthly supply zone confluence. Weekly supply zone with monthly supply zone confluence. With all the 3 filters enabled, we got 2 stocks. In those 2 stocks, these daily supply zones are overlapped with weekly. Both together again overlapped with monthly supply zone. And monthly trend is sideways in both the stocks. So checking EMA does not give any extra advantage, because EMA confluence does not give any advantage in sideways trend. That is what you learned in your training program. So this is bearish trade setup for monthly income trade. Next, let us look into bullish bearish trade setups for weekly income trade. So weekly income trade entry time frame 75 minutes, entry zone demand zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at 75 minutes, I am selecting bullish. Zone achievement VOZ, minimum order enhancer score 12. And 75 minutes demand zone should not be pierced. So in the pierced count, at 75 minutes, minimum value I am setting 0, maximum value 0. That means the pierced count should be 0. Pierced count 0 means zone is not pierced. So let's filter. We got 7 stocks. These 7 stocks are supporting bearish trade setup for, these 7 stocks are supporting bullish trade setup for weekly income trade. And all these demand zones are 75 minutes demand zones. Out of these 7 75 minutes demand zones, how many are having ITF confluence? Let us verify. So in the demand zone confluence, I am setting the filter 75 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone confluence. With this filter, we got 6 stocks. That means in all these 6 stocks, these 75 minutes demand zones are overlapped with daily demand zone. and daily trend is up in all the 6 stocks. So if the daily demand zone having daily EMA confluence, then those zones might be having even more higher success rate, higher probability to get the success rate. So in the EMA confluence at daily time frame, I am setting the filter daily demand zone having daily EMA confluence or not. With this filter, we got 4 stocks. So these 4 stocks might be having even more higher success, more probability to get the success rate. And moreover, all these demand zones are high liquidity demand zones. Okay, this is about bullish trade setup as per LTF, ITF and ITF EMA confluence. Next, we will look into LTF, ITF and HTF demand zone confluence. Removing EMA filter. In the demand zone confluence, I should set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled, 75 with daily demand zone confluence. Second filter, 75 minutes demand zone with weekly demand zone confluence. Third filter, daily demand zone with weekly demand zone confluence. With all the 3 filters enabled, LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence, we got only 2 stocks. In these 2 stocks, these 75 minutes demand zones are overlapped with daily, both together again overlapped with weekly demand zone, and weekly trend is up in only one stock. If this stock is having weekly demand zone with weekly EMA confluence, then it could be even more high probability trade setup supported stock. Let us verify. In the EMA confluence, weekly time frame, checking weekly demand zone having weekly EMA confluence, and also trend on the weekly time frame should not be sideways. That's why trend should be uptrend, because it is bullish trade setup. So with these filters, we got that one stock. That means Bharti Airtel is even having even more probability to get the success. Maybe that is the reason why it is already tested 8 times, 3 times tested, 8 times rejections. Rejections are also part of testing the zone. Okay, this is about bullish trade setup for weekly income trade. Next, bearish trade setup for weekly income trade. Entry time frame 75 minutes, entry zone supply zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at 75 minutes, I am selecting bearish. Zone achievement VOZ, minimum order enhancer score 12, and 75 minutes supply zone should not be pierced. So in the 75 minutes time frame, minimum value 0, maximum value 0 for the pierced count. With these filters, we got 10 stocks. So these 10 stocks are currently supporting bearish trade setup for weekly income trade, and entry time frame zones are 75 minute supply zones. We have 10 75 minute supply zones. All are supporting bearish trade setup for weekly income trade. Out of these 10 75 minute supply zones, there could be even more high probability trade setup supported zones might be available. So we need to filter them. So the first filter is LTF and ITF supply zone confluence. Let us apply the filter on these 10 stocks. So in the supply zone confluence, I am enabling the filter 75 minute supply zone having daily EMA confluence or not. Sorry, daily supply zone confluence or not. That is LTF, ITF supply zone confluence. We got 8 stocks out of 10. That means in all these 8 stocks, these 75 minute supply zones are overlapped with daily supply zone, and daily trend is down in all these stocks, ITF trend, because 75 is overlapped with daily, and if the daily supply zone having daily EMA confluence, then these 75 minute supply zones are having even more high probability to get the success. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence at 75 minutes time, daily time frame, because 75 minute supply zone is overlapped with daily. That's why we are checking daily supply zone having daily EMA confluence or not. And with this filter, we got 6 stocks. So these 6 75-minute supply zones are having even more higher probability to get the success. This is based on LTF, ITF, zone confluence, and also ITF supply zone with EMA confluence. Okay, next let us look into LTF, ITF and HTF supply zone confluence supported stocks. I am removing EMA filter. In the supply zone confluence, we should set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled, that is 75 supply zone with daily supply zone confluence. Next 75-minute supply zone with weekly supply zone confluence, and then daily supply zone with weekly supply zone confluence. With all the 3 filters enabled, LTF, ITF, HTF supply zone confluence, we got 4 stocks. In these 4 stocks, these 75-minute supply zones are overlapped with the daily supply zone. Both together again overlapped with weekly supply zone. And weekly trend is down in 3 stocks, first, second and fourth. And out of these 3 stocks, if any of the weekly supply zone having weekly EMA confluence, then these 75-minute supply zones are even more high probability zones to get the success, because these 75-minute supply zones are fine-tuned zones inside the weekly supply zone. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence at weekly time frame, I am checking weekly supply zone having weekly EMA confluence or not, and also trend on weekly time frame should not be sideways. It should be downtrend because it is bearish trade setup. So with these filters, we got all the 3 stocks. So all the 3 stocks are having even more high probability to get the success, the supply zones. That is the reason why some of these supply zones are already tested and prices are moving towards the demand zone. So this is a bearish trade setup for weekly income trade. Next, we will look into daily income trade bullish and bearish trade setups. Okay, daily income trade bullish trade setup, entry time frame 15 minutes, entry zone, demand zone in bullish or bearish trade setup. At 15 minutes, I am selecting bullish. Zone achievement violated opposing zone, minimum odd enhancer score 12, and 15 minutes demand zone should not be pierced. So in the pierced count at 15 minutes time frame, I am setting minimum value 0, maximum value 0. With all the 3 filters, we got 5 stocks. So that means these 5 stocks are currently supporting bullish trade setup for daily income trade, and entry time frame zones are 15 minutes demand zones. So we got 5 15 minutes demand zones that are supporting bullish trade setup for daily income trade. Out of these 5, any high probability setup supported zones are available. We can find them based on this zone confluence. First filter is LTF, ITF, demand zone confluence, that is 15 minutes and 75 minutes demand zone confluence. I enabled the filter applying for those 5 stocks. Out of 5, these 4 stocks are filtered. That means in these 4 stocks, these 15 minutes demand zones are overlapped with 75 minutes demand zone, and 75 minutes trend is uptrend in all these stocks, ITF trend. If any of these 75 minutes demand zones are having daily EMA confluence, then those stocks could be having even more higher success rate. I mean higher probability to get the success. Let's verify. EMA confluence, 75 minutes time frame. Checking 75 minutes demand zone having daily EMA confluence. With this filter, out of 4, we got only 1 stock. So this stock is having even more higher probability to get the success. This is based on LTF, ITF zone confluence and ITF EMA confluence. Next, we will look into LTF, ITF, HTF and then HTF EMA confluence. So I am going back, removing this ITF EMA filter. In the demand zone Confluence, we should set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled. Second filter, 15 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone Confluence. Third filter, 75 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone Confluence. With all the 3 filters, we got 3 stocks. That means in these 3 stocks, these 15 minutes demand zones are overlapped with 75 minutes demand zone. Both together again overlapped with daily demand zone. And daily trend is up in the first stock and third stock. And among those stocks, if any of the daily demand zones are having daily EMA Confluence, and those stocks are having even more highest probability to get the success. Let's verify. In the EMA Confluence, daily time frame, I am checking daily demand zone having daily EMA Confluence. And also trend on the daily should not be sideways. It should be uptrend because it is bullish trade setup. So with these filters, we got both the stocks. That means both these stocks are having even more highest probability to get the success. So this is bullish trade setup for daily income trade. Next, we will look into bearish trade setup for daily income trade. Entry time frame 15 minutes, entry zone, supply zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at 15 minutes, I am selecting bearish. Zone achievement VOZ, minimum order enhances score 12, and 15 minute supply zone should not be pierced. So in the pierced count at 15 minutes time frame, I am setting minimum value 0, maximum value 0. With all the 3 filters, we got 13 stocks. And these 13 stocks are currently supporting bullish trade setup for, bearish trade setup for daily income trade. These are the bearish trade setup. And entry time frame zones are supply zones, 15 minute supply zones. So you should plan your trades on these 15 minute supply zones. But our selected zone should have highest probability to get the success. For that, we will further filter this list based on the zone confluence. First filter is LTF and ITF supply zone confluence. So let's filter out from these 13 stocks by setting the filter 15 minute supply zone with 75 minutes supply zone confluence. Enable the filter. Out of 13 stocks, we got all the 13 stocks. That means all these 13 stocks, these 15 minute supply zones are overlapped with 75 minute supply zone. And also the 75 minutes trend is down in all these stocks. So that is the reason why if 75 minute supply zone having daily EMA confluence, because 15 minute supply zone is overlapped with 75 minute supply zone. If 75 minute supply zone is having daily EMA confluence, then those stocks might be having even more higher success rate. I mean higher probability to get the success. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence, 75 minutes time frame, I am setting filter 75 minute supply zone having daily EMA confluence. So with this filter, we got 5 stocks out of 13. So these 5 stocks are having even more higher success rate. I mean higher probability to get the success. Okay, next let us look into LTF, ITF and HTF supply zone confluence. That is 15 minutes, 75 minutes and daily supply zone confluence. Removing EMA filter. In the supply zone confluence, we should set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled. Second filter, 15 minute supply zone with daily supply zone confluence. Third filter, 75 minute supply zone with daily supply zone confluence. With all the 3 filters enabled, we got 6 stocks. In all these 6 stocks, these 15 minute supply zones are overlapped with 75 minute supply zone. both together again overlapped with daily supply zone. That means these 15-minute supply zones are fine-tuned zones inside the daily supply zone. That is how you should understand. So that is the reason why if the daily supply zone having daily EMA confluence and trend is down in all these stocks, that is very good. So if any of these stocks are having daily EMA confluence, daily supply zone having daily EMA, then these 15-minute supply zones are having even more highest success, highest probability to get the success. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence at a daily time frame, I am setting the filter daily supply zone having daily EMA confluence or not. Anyway, trend is down in all the stocks at a daily time frame. We got all 5 stocks. So that means all these 5 stocks are having even more highest success, highest probability to get the success. So this is about a bearish trade setup for daily income trade. Next, we will generate a bullish and bearish trade setups for hourly income trade. Okay, bullish trade setup for hourly income trade, entry time frame 5 minutes, entry zone, demand zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at 5 minutes, I am selecting bullish. Zone achievement VOZ, minimum odd and enhance score 12, and 5 minutes demand zone should not be pierced. In the pierced count, 5 minutes time frame, minimum value 0, maximum value 0, and with all the filters, we got 8 stocks. These 8 stocks are currently supporting bullish trade setup for hourly income trade, and entry time frame zones are 5 minutes demand zones. Out of these 8 5 minutes demand zones, how many are having ITF zone confluence? Let us verify further. That is the 5 minutes demand zone with 15 minutes demand zone confluence. So in the demand zone confluence, I am enabling the filter 5 minutes demand zone with 15 minutes demand zone confluence. By applying the filter on the 8 stocks, we got 7 stocks. That means in all these 7 stocks, these 5 minutes demand zones were overlapped with 15 minutes demand zones. And the 15 minutes trend, ITF trend, is up in all these stocks. If any of the 15 minutes demand zones are having daily EMA confluence, those stocks might be having more probability to get success. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence at 15 minutes time frame, a 15 minutes demand zone having daily EMA confluence. Anyway, trend is uptrend. None of the stocks are having EMA confluence. Next, we will look into LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence. Removing EMA filter. In the demand zone confluence, 3 filters we have to set. First filter is already enabled, 5 minutes with 15 minutes zone confluence. Next, 5 minutes demand zone with 75 minutes demand zone confluence. 15 minutes demand zone with 75 minutes demand zone confluence. With all the 3 filters enabled, we got 3 stocks. In these 3 stocks, these 5 minutes demand zones are overlapped with 15 minutes demand zone, both together again overlapped with 75 minutes demand zone. That means these 5 minutes demand zones are fine-tuned demand zones inside the 75 minutes demand zone. Okay. But 75 minutes trend is up in only one stock. If this stock is having a 75 minutes demand zone with daily, probably there could be high probability to get success. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence at 75 minutes time frame, we are checking 75 minutes demand zone having daily EMA confluence or not. And also trend on the 75 minutes time frame should not be sideways. It should be uptrend because bullish trade setup. With these filters, we did not get any EMA confluence supported stocks. So this is bullish trade setup for hourly income trade. Next, bearish trade setup for hourly income trade. Entry time frame 5 minutes. Entry zone, supply zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at 5 minutes, I am selecting bearish. Zone achievement VOZ, minimum odd enhanced score 12, and 5 minute supply zone should not be pierced. So in 5 minutes time frame, pierced count, minimum value 0, maximum value 0. With all the filters, we got 5 stocks. That means in all these 5 stocks, these 5 minute supply zones are overlapped with 15 minute supply zone. Both together again overlapped with 75 minute supply zone. That means all these 5 minute supply zones are fine-tuned supply zones inside the 75 minute supply zone. And 75 minutes trend is down in 3 stocks, 1st, 4th and 5th. If any of those 3 stocks 75 minute supply zone having daily EMA confluence, then those stocks are having even more high probability to get the success. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence 75 minutes time frame, I am setting the filter 75 minute supply zone is having daily EMA confluence or not, and also trend on the 75 minute supply zone should not be sideways. It should be downtrend because it is bearish trade setup. So with these filters, we don't have any stocks that are supporting the EMA confluence. So this is hourly income trade for bearish trade setup. So with this we have completed all the income trades, and in the final report let us generate stop buffers based on daily ATR. So first 17 in this list are indices, remaining all are equity stocks. So what I do, I scrolling the list down, whichever the stock you want to refer, pause the video. After that you can proceed further with the report. Okay, I am scrolling the list down. So this is the end of the report. Hope this information will be useful to you for your further study and analysis. Let's all meet again in our next video. Thank you.